What's going on, guys? I'm just gonna let people know that we're live now. That's what we're gonna do. Just so people know we're live. What's going on, guys? Live on YouTube. Div, can you post the link in the Telegram group? Can you do that? Can you post the link in the Telegram group? What's going on, Rafe? Busy Bee? What's going on? Live on YouTube. What's going on, guys? Give the video a like as you're coming in. Praneet Gill. What's going on, Praneet? What's happening? Varun, what's going on? Varun, were you on the IG live like earlier, Varun? Because if it wasn't you, there was another Varun that was on the IG live. Rafe, exhaustive doing UWorld. Carson, what's going on, Carson? That's right, Carson. You remember you became a bronze member the other day. Appreciate it, Carson. Give the video a like, guys. Por favor. Someone post the link in the Telegram group to this live stream. Someone post the link in the Telegram group. I've tried posting the link myself. YouTube's fucking dumb. I post the link myself. Thanks, Amit. I think that's you, Carson. Actually, you're like weird in terms of let's have multiple names, right? Let's see. What are you guys up to? So let's see. Dima, hey Mike, good to see you again. I'm gonna just let some other people know that we're live right now. That's what I'm gonna do. You're asking about biochem. That's what you're asking about, Dima. Yeah, so biochem. Let me see. Just letting people know. Don't worry, I'm gonna answer all these questions. Guys, give the video a like if you're coming in live. All right, let's do this. Dima, good to see you again. How much we need to stress about biochem, really suck at it. It's hit or miss. I mean, some of you are going to get a lot of biochem, some of you might not get biochem, right? It's just how it works. Like, we don't know the exact percentage that's going to show up in any one person's exam. So you might have a lot of biochem, someone else might not have a lot of biochem. It's generally a rule. When in doubt, the rule that transpires is that if you don't study something, that's what's going to show up in your exam. It's a lose-lose, okay? Because if you choose to study something, you're like, biochem, I suck at it. I'm going to make sure I really know it really well, okay? You're not going to get any biochem in your exam. You're going to be pissed off. And I said all this like nonsense biochem didn't show up. Okay, and then if you don't study it, you're going to get a lot of biochem in your exam. That's how it always works. Kanye, what's going on? Arita K, what's up, Dr. Mike? What's going on? Hello, tomorrow. Good to see you again. Step 1 exam after 4 days. So scared. And maybe it's 25, 31, 74%. Do you think I'll pass? Excellent scores. 74%, 25, 31. Ahmed Alamin. Hey, Mike, what's going on, Ahmed? Praneet Gill, struggling with micro. Okay, do my micro PowerPoints on the YouTube playlist. Okay, like you go into my YouTube playlist. I'm not talking about the MCQ, just the MCQs that I do the audio cubing. I'm talking about, I've actually got 45-minute PowerPoints. Holy shit. On micro. You can do that. And also the high yield dermatology playlist. Okay. Dermatology playlist. The fuck am I saying? Well, I mean, I would have some micro, but the high yield dermatology PDF. Okay. That's got a lot of micro in it. Jay Mathur, hi. Is there a specific order would you recommend to do the NMEs? Yes, 20 through 24, then free 120, then 25 through 31. And for step 2, 6 through 8, then free 120, then 9 through 14. Malop Sen, hey legend, Nakia. What's going on, Nakia? What's going on? What are you up to? What are you doing, Nakia? And you were in the IG live just before. It's good. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, Nakia. Middle of the afternoon for you now, over in NOLA, isn't it? Well, you're Central Time, so it'd be like 2:20 p.m. in the United States Central. You guys in the East Coast, 3:20 p.m. Okay, post lunch, second phase of study. It's 4:20 a.m. here in Japan. Let's see. Med asks, where was I? Med asks, how did you how did the approach go to this cute chick you saw this morning? Well, Nasan, hi. Crazy fucking name, Vishnavi Reddy Vukturi. Can you share the neurology high yield PDF? Double question mark. It's called go to my fucking website. How's that sound? All right. So you got the free stuff tab. You got a neuro PDF. You've got neuroanatomy PDF, 2 neuro PDFs. Okay. So go to my website. Carson, thank you. Busy Bee. My step 2 is next month. What should I do now? I've done 80% of UWorld. And please tell me strategy for final month. You need to postpone. Let's see. You need to postpone about. So if you say your step 2 is in a month. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Vishnavi Reddy. You retract that message. That's right. You retract that message. Some people are shy. Some people are like, I asked a question and I'm shy. I'm gonna like retract my message here. People are like real fucking trigger happy with the delete function in Telegram as well. I see everything people post in Telegram. Like in the admin panel, people delete shit all the time, and I see people delete dumb shit. I see everything. Let's see. But you say, Busy Bee, your exam is next month. This is what's going through my mind, Busy Bee, is after you finish UWorld, we would want 8 to 9 weeks for you to do a double pass of all the CMS forms and the NBMEs 6 through 14, including free 120. So if you're 80% done with UWorld, presumably maybe you could get the final 20% done in, I don't know, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or something. So then you got to add that on, probably going to be 10 and a half. You need about 10 and a half, 11 weeks. So you need 10 and a half, 11 weeks between now and when you sit your step exam. Okay. 10 and a half to 11-ish weeks between now. So I'd say, so it's mid-July, right? So August, September, and then end of September. Busy Bee. So your exam, I would set your step 2 for end of September. And that's enough time for you to finish UWorld. And then you can get through, as I just fucking said, the double pass of the CMS forms, NBME 6 through 8, free 129 through 14. If you say, well, I can't move my exam, well, you're severely undershooting yourself then in terms of your max potential on it. And the fact that 2CK is like the bulk of your competitiveness, you got to do everything you can to get all that content done. Carson, you know everything because you're my teacher. Ahmed Eleman, how to improve stamina, focus during the real deal. I barely survived through the last block of movies. The answer is you fucking handle it because it's the medical licensing exam. And if you don't, then you're fucked. Right? How's that sound? Because it's no different from being in a surgery where you might be tired. You might have to go to the bathroom. Well, you know what? You have to finish the fucking surgery because, you know, you're the attending and no one else is there. So, you know, you got to do it. You just got to handle it. But in terms of practical, you know, answers as far as got to make sure your caffeine level is appropriate. You got to just not be emotional about things. You got to just push through the exam. You got to just recognize that, you know, you don't have an alternative, as I said. Adam Gaby, good to see you back. Hi, Mike. Thank you for answering our question. I appreciate it. During second pass of CMS forms, I took maybe 10 a week ago. You're in the second pass the CMS forms, but you took maybe 10 a week ago. You got 248. That's weird. You should be doing NVMEs. You should be doing free 120 and 9 through 14 after your second pass the CMS, not before. You said yesterday you took Form 11. Stop fucking doing NBMEs while you're in your second pass of the CMS forms. Finish your second pass, the CMS forms, then do free 120. Then I want you doing the remaining NBMEs. But you're asking about going down in score. I don't care, okay? Because I've talked about this before that you guys will take one NBME. Doesn't fucking matter. Step 1 or step 2, okay? Let's say you take NBME 27 and then you get a certain 3-digit score conversion, a 231, and then you take NBME 28 a week later and you get 221 and you're like, oh my God, I went down 10 points. No, you didn't. It's sort of random. I mean, had you just taken them coincidentally the other way around, you would have been like, wow, I went up 10 points. Okay. So a lot of that's coincidental. It's no different when you're in the real deal, depending on the cubicle you happen to sit in and the form that loads that hits certain strengths or weaknesses. It's coincidental, and that's how the real deal will play out. But you're not going down. Daniel Mwambi, hello doc, what's going on? Adam Gaby, what is your opinion on the optimal score an IMG should have to match into IM FM peds? You just have to pass. I Shooty She 123. Hello, Mike. You're the best. Joy Rahab Kalo. Good to see you again. Dr. Mike, the erudite pedagogical, but pedagogue, has graced the digital realm by his grand entrance. Okay. Dima M, thanks for your answer. After how many NBMEs with which we score, are we ready to sit for the exam? I've said 205, 210 plus on at least 3 NBMEs for step 1. For step 2, I want to see 220 plus. Cigar Patel, hey Mike, what's up? Did make me 24, 78% going to free 120, as you said. Good, this strong score. Haneen GF, can I work with you by any chance? Question mark. I really need a job to collect step 2 fees. I searched everywhere but can't. It's stressing me out. I can do many things. First things first is your question here sounds like an ESL statement. So I need to better understand the communication coming from you if you're asking about working on my team in any regard, right? But yeah, that's like a separate discussion. Are you asking about you want to be tutored by me? Or are you saying like you said you need a job to collect step 2 fees? I mean, you can DM me your, you got to have a pass in step 1 and you got to DM me your step 2 and you got to have done well and you're going to DM me your CV and then we'll have a chat as far as your experience and stuff like that. Alexis Picardo, you are the best. Thank you for all the resources! ! Hussam Halik, Hi Godfather of USMLE, Rejuvenate Simple, enjoying your audio cubing today. Great topic and breakdown. Yep, the dermatology, the chilblains, right? Some of you are like, what the fuck, right? That had to have gone down. I mean, that's like, some of you are like, what the fuck? When you see that question, what the fuck are chilblains? I mean, it's an important. I avoided saying they're a high yield differential because they're not fucking high yield. I said in the video that I've never seen them assessed in USMLE, but like in real life, I know what chilblains are. Jay Matur, Mike, I know it's a stupid question, but just curious, could I crack step 1 in 1 month with about 50% of UWorld to go and 1 NBME solved? Bad fucking idea. Okay, you're going to finish UWorld and you're going to go through 20 through 24, free 120, then 25, 31. I Shooty She 123. Second pass of UWorld necessary for step 1. It's not. I've said numerous times you don't have to do that. Nakia Brooks, you got it. Quadruple exclamation mark. Doing UWorld in between patients. Have to catch you though. Hope you are good and that your workout went well. Rafai Hassan, do you recommend doing UWorld in the last month or just the NBMEs? In the final month, I've said a lot that you're just going to do the NBMEs. Okay. I mean, QBank doesn't have a role in the final month. That's really important that you know that. Okay. So you're going to finish UWorld up until about a month before your exam. And then the final month to month and 4 days, you're just going to be doing NBME exams. Okay, I've talked about how to go through the NBMEs, generally 2 days per form. You need to do stacked review with Anki. Okay, you're gonna take screenshots of your incorrects, and you're gonna make Anki decks. So you're gonna have one Anki deck of 20 through 24 and free 120. So 20 through 24, that's 5 NBMEs. Free 120, so that's 6 forms, and then you're gonna have a second fresh Anki deck for 25 through 31. Sunny, how much time should you realistically be spending on your residency personal statement? I mean, that's like depends on how fast you can write, how well you can write. The whole thing with ChatGPT now, being able to write people's personal statements has like sort of eliminated the its importance. Like you have to sound humble. You have to like demonstrate communication of adversity, that you're a team player, that you're not hubristic, and that the value of the personal statement is that it's a weed out. It's a weed out component of the application. No one on a committee is going to be impressed by whatever story you're telling. Okay. No one's going to be like, wow, we really like this person. Their story is great. We want them at our institute. That's not what's going to go down. They're just going to quickly scan your personal statement to see, do you sound like you're about yourself? Are you a team player? Do you demonstrate humility? Do you sound like someone who is about you or someone who's about the team? Okay, that's like what they're going to be looking at. And so, but in terms of writing ability, I think unfortunately, for some of you, you guys are like stoked. You're like, hell yeah. But like, I think unfortunately, the fact that ChatGPT can write essays now, it kind of blows if you're a good writer. Like I'm naturally an excellent writer, so like that for me, I'd be like, I mean, I'm not fucking applying, but if I were applying right now, I'd be like pissed off that like, that's like an advantage. But for some of you who are ESL, you're going to be glad that you can barely speak English and that you're able to have ChatGPT write essays for you. And some of you are probably like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that. That's a great idea. Thanks. Okay, you'll go forward with that now. Rafayas on step 1. Zahur, Alahi Swati. Hi, sir. I'm an IMG from Pakistan. Yeah. Someone just on the IG live was in Pakistan. They were like asking if I'm coming to Pakistan. And I was like, well, what am I going to do there? Eat rice, raisins, right? Like, what am I going to do in Pakistan? I'd like to go to Pakistan, but what am I going to do there? Right? You're asking, in Pakistan, can you make it into plastics? It's your dream, but it's too hard. Get a fucking high 2CK score. That's what you have to do. Most Sadiq, hello. What's your opinion on doing subject UWorld step 2? I know you recommend mixed tutor, but what do you think about it? You're right. I've said do untimed tutor random. That's what you're going to do. I don't recommend doing subject, but if you're on rotations, you're not going to have a choice, right? If you're on rotations, obviously you're going to be doing subject specific by shelf exam. But if you're post grad and you can just study linearly for the step 2, I would do things in random untimed tutor, random mode. Abcom 98, good to see you back. What CBSC scores have you seen from your dental students? Okay. And how much time do you usually have them prepare, given that that they'll also be doing dental school work? Yeah, I actually had a dental student today. I had 3 students today, and one was dental student, and I prepped them for step 1 because you guys are doing the mixed craniofacial stuff, and I prep you exactly for step 1 for your CBSE. It's the same thing. Okay, so I just prep you for CBSE exactly like the step 1. Nothing changes. You guys are trying to do 2 degrees at once. That's what it is. So you're literally trying to sit the first 2 years of med school. After your second year of dental school, right? You're trying to get as high as possible in the CBSE. I know some of you need 75% to be competitive. It depends on, I guess, what school you're at, but you're trying to get high CBSE scores. So you said how much time do you usually have them prepare? As I just fucking said, it's the same as step 1, where about 2 months for UWorld and then about a month for all the NBME exams. And then if the scores aren't where they need to be, we remediate. Most Sadiq subject-wise. Miriam, I want to match into general surgery. Year of graduation 2021, IMG step 1. OET done, CK by Jan. What else should I do to match into gen search? If you're going to take CK in January, so you're not applying this year, you're also going to take step 3. So what I would do, you're going to take IMG step 1. So step 1 and OET are done. And you're taking CK by January? Why by January? That's like too much time. You could get CK done in maximum 4 months. You could get CK done by the match this year. You just have to make sure you get through all of UWorld or AMBOSS. And then you've got another, so it's, as I just said, 4 months, 2 months for QBank, and then about 8-9 weeks for the double pass, the CMS forms, and all the NBMEs and the free 120. So, but if you are going to take it January next year for whatever reason, then and you're going to extend your prep, I would take step 3 next year as well before you apply into the match. Yeah, I mean, obviously letters from surgery, that type of stuff's going to help you. Zamian Zuck, Mike, I love the bandana. Looks like you belong to an all-white biker gang. You just need the tattoos to match. I don't like tattoos. I'm not into that. I know some people really yeah, tattoos. Fuck yeah. I'm not into that. I don't like that. I don't like girls with tattoos either. Now, if the chick has a tattoo, and I dated girls with tattoos, but if the chick has a tattoo, it's not a deal breaker. But if it's a situation where it's like, do you prefer it? Yes or no? The answer is no. I don't prefer tattoos on girls. Zamian Zuck, Mike, what are your top 3 hobbies outside of work? Well, I have unconventional hobbies. That's probably why you're probing at that. Um, yeah, I have unconventional hobbies. I mean, common one is I go to the gym, right? But I've also like, I'm social as well. Raj Matthew, hi Mike. King of Support, hey Mike, big fan for over a year now. Jay Martha, guys, live stream's gonna end pretty fucking soon. So more questions. Jay Martha, Mike, I am done with my undergrad and I have revisited most of the concepts, and then I have 50% of the UWorld left. Would you recommend taking step 1 in a month or no? Undergrad and I have revision most concepts. Then I have done my undergrad, revision most concepts. Then I have 50% of the UWorld left. Taking step 1. When you say you're done with your undergrad, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I mean, you take step 1 in med school. You don't take. I'm just confused what you're asking right now. But you're going to take step 1 after you finish UWorld. You have to finish QBank, all of it, and then you got a month for the NBME exams after. I've said that. Zamian, how should I change my name to Muhammad? I have like so many fucking Muhammads in my phone. Muhammads, Ahmeds, Mustafas. I've got my phone's loaded with these names. Harshad Jaj Singh. Have you ever had a student who had dyslexia and ADHD all the fucking time? I have tons of students who have ADHD, like with their medications, tons. That's like a very, very common thing. Omar, hello. Is UWorld offline enough? I don't really care how you do UWorld. I just want you to do it. So, I mean, I want you to get through it, um, preferentially online. But if you're doing it offline, as long as you're getting through 40, 80 questions per day, that's what matters. Minimum 40, no more than 80 per day. If you get the 40 questions done, then you have your lunch break. And then the afternoon, evening phase is going to be my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs. But if you don't feel like doing those in a given day, you can titrate up to 80 questions. Let's see, Mariam, should I do all the CMS forms and NVMEs for CK? The answer is yes. Clearly, you know the answer is yes to that. So you got to get through, there's 45 to 50 forms. I say 45 to 50 because some students might have difficulty finding some of the forms. I get that quite frequently. People are like, oh, I couldn't find X form or something. I'm like, whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as you get through 45 plus, I'm generally content as that equating to a pass of the CMS forms. If you're only doing the online forms, and you say, oh, Mike, there's only 32 of them or something, no, you're going to do the offline ones as well. And yes, they're important to do. The information's not outdated. For there's only 3 questions I can think of where the guidelines have been updated or something, and the questions are the answers would be different now. But it'll be obvious to you when that occurs. You'll be like, wait, is something awry here? But you're talking all the questions otherwise, extremely important for you to do. And 6 through 14, all the NBME exams. Abcom 98, good to hear from you again. Tremendous work. I hope it didn't come through like I was ad hominem yesterday. I don't even fucking remember. You just seem like an interesting person with interesting views. Saying, hey, Mike, I have an exam. I have my exam 26 July. Eligibility period ends 31st. It's 31st, not 31st. You wrote 31th. It's 31st. And I'm not sure if I'll be ready by then. What do you think I should do? Well, you would have to postpone. I don't know what you want me to tell you. You just said if your exam is 26 July, your eligibility period ends the 31st. You have to extend, or you got to pay the fee again to resit, or to pay the fee as though you have to resit. Amir Chahimi, how long you think you will carry on with these live streams? I don't know. I'm not putting a label on it, right? If I come out and declare and promulgate about yes, I do live streams daily and always, and then I don't like the formality of that. I don't like to feel like I'm held to that. So I just tell you guys, I'll do live streams, with some consistency, hopefully. But if there's days where I don't do a live stream, don't be butthurt about it. And I will be traveling in August. I'll be going to the US in August, as well as Australia. So August is going to be a bit of a lighter month in terms of some of the YouTube stuff, I think. But July is fucking busy as hell, super fucking busy, the teaching schedule I've got going on. Abcom98. Do you follow the YouTube fitness world? I don't. Um, there's like one fitness influencer I've seen some of his videos, but like I don't really follow too much of that. No, not recently. Jay Mathur, Mike, I am a FMG, and I am done with my MBBS and Indio standards. So I mean, done with my medicine undergrad, and I hadn't decided to do USMLE then. What's your question? That just like ended abruptly. I don't know what you're asking, Jay Mathur. Izat with crazy last name. Absolutely, your last name is nuts. Hello, Mike. Finished UWorld for step one, 57%. Should I go back and do incorrects or go ahead and do the MBMEs? No, you're going to do MBMEs 2021. That's what you're going to do first. So if you do MBA, so Izat, you're going to do MBME 20, and you're going to take your number of wrongs and you're going to type into, so after you do MBME 20, you're going to go into Google Images, not Google. You're going to type in MBME 20 score conversion Reddit. You're going to see an equation, a graph, then equation for a best fit line. You're going to plug in the number of wrongs as X. Y will be the three-digit score. 197 is the internal pass mark for step one. We want 205, 210 plus ideally before you sit on the ladder NBMEs. But when you take NBME 20, if you get a 189 or lower, I want you not progressing to 21, and I want you going back for an entire month to do UWorld incorrects plus my PDFs plus my YouTube MCQs. Or you can switch over to AMBOSS. If you get a 190 or greater, you can proceed to NBME 21. You're going to repeat that. If you get 189 or lower on 21, you go back to UWorld incorrects for an entire month, or AMBOSS you can switch over to. If you get 190 or higher, you can proceed to 22. So notice I said that 197 is the internal pass mark for step one, but I'm allowing you to get a 190 plus, meaning that I essentially allow a mild fail, quote unquote, on 20 and 21. I allow you to fail if it's only by a little, 190 to 196. But when you get to NBME 22 onward, you must now have a 197 or greater. If I have a student fail an NBME from 22 onward, I just pull him or her out of the NBMEs altogether, and I say, you went back to UWorld for an entire month, or AMBOSS, you're going to switch over. So then so now you have to pass all the NBMEs. The bar is higher now. And then when we get to NBMEs 27, 28, I want to start seeing scores that are like 205 to 210 plus, because we need a buffer. I can't have you go into the USMLE where your NBMEs are like 199, 197. We can't have that. We need a buffer. We can't YOLO going into the real USMLE. So I want to see a bit of a buffer. So if I have a student going through the NBMEs, then we get to like NBME 28, and they're getting like 199. I'm like, look, I don't want to waste the latter three NBMEs right now. I think we should just pull out, go to, back to QBank for an entire month. You got to read my PDF, stuff like that. And if the student's like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to postpone. I want to sit this exam. My advice is, great, I agree with you. Then fucking score well in the NBMEs. We don't have to have this issue. Okay. I incentivize students to study well by giving them an alternative trajectory for their exam, and they're not going to want to do that. They're not going to want to postpone. So that should incentivize you to do well on the NBMEs. Let's see. Lost where I was. Ashkin. Did it make me form 25? Got 40%. That's awful. That's awful. And I still have 4 weeks before my comp. Terrible. Should I keep pushing through the forms? No. Or is there no chance? There's no chance. I might have to save them for no. You're not touching another MBME right now. You're just going to do cube. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're not going to like my response, but this is what's going to go down. You're just going to do QBank. You're going to do UWorld, 40 questions per day, and you're going to do my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs until your comp, and you're not going to pass comp. And then you're going to have to retake comp, but you're going to have to find out when that second comp date is. And hopefully they don't force you to sit it in like 3 weeks. You get like another 2 months or something. So you got a month. This next month, you're just going to be doing QBank and my PDFs, YouTube MCQs. But you've got 2 more months after you fail the comp. And then you've got 1 more month where you'll do more QBank. And then you're going to go into the NBMEs 2 months from now. That's what you're going to do. Now, if you say, but wait a second, fuck you. You're telling me, you're going to deter me and tell me that I can't pass comp in a month with my 40%. Show me. Okay. Be that data point. Show me that you can pass comp, and be like, wow. I'll be like, wow, I was a fucking asshole. I'll be like, and then for future data points, right? And so other people in the live stream or other students I have over the Skype, And they're like, "Do you know of like anyone who's been in my position who had like a 41% or 40% on comp, and or the NBMEs passed in a month?" And I'll be like, "Actually, there was this dude in one of my live streams where I was a fucking asshole and I told him he wasn't going to pass, and then he actually like DM'd me and he went up, to like 69% or whatever and passed." And I was like, "That was a data point. It's like, show me, okay?" But otherwise, like that's a big, big augmentation. That's a significant. You're not trying, even going from 50 to a pass is like in a month is like a big deal. Going from 50 to a pass. So like a 40 to a 40 is like you're months away. You're like you need 3 months, I would say. 3 months of hard study, proper study, and we can get you to pass. Cigar Patel. And that's because I am actually like, I'm honest with things, You'll get someone else, who's like, yeah, sure, we'll get you to, it's like, it's full of shit. It's not going to happen. Cigar Patel, if I give step one, step two by March, is it possible to apply for match? Step one, step two. I mean, step one, you need 3 months. Step two, you need 4 months. Right. So you're asking by March. So, August, September, October, that's your step one. You could sit. And then November, December, January, February. I mean, you could be done by February, right? Step one and step two. But so by March, you're fine. And if you're an IMG, you could even take step three next year. Holy shit. You could knock it all out. That's what I would do if I were in your position. If I'm a grad and I'm gonna apply next year. That's what I would do. I would literally take step one, 3 months, step two, 4 months by February, take the bullshit nonsense OET English exam, get my ECFMG certification. Well, and then I'm applying for step three. And then then you can apply for step three, but I prep for step three. I would sit that. I'd finish the USMLE sequence by the time I'm applying next year. That's what I would do. The focus has to be the 2CK. You could like see how you're doing by February on the 2CK material. And like, because the thing is, if you take step three, you could be done by like April or May, but you still have time, right? Next year. Now, unless you're going to go on like, some sort of like, excursion to like, South America or something, you're going to go backpacking through the Philippines or something, unless you're going to have like you want to, trek backpack, then like, if you have time to study, then you could arguably like see how your scores are on step two material by February. And if you're getting like 240s and you're like, well, I could actually like study longer for step two. I'm okay doing that. I don't feel burned out enough. It's like, okay. And then maybe we could have you do another Q bank or something, sit step two, prolonged studies, sit in April, and you actually score pretty high on step two. And then you sit step three, like in the summer, and then you apply. That's what could go down. That could be a good trajectory for you. You just have to like do the study. Tyler Stone just finished first year. How should I get ready for USMLE step one for next June? Next June. Should I start with Amboss QBank now alongside my blocks because I have two passes? Yeah, it's fine. I mean, you're so far away that it's like prep you're doing now. I occasionally get students who are like, I'm 18 months out. Like, what should I do? And I'm like, okay, well, your step prep, all the study you're doing now is just foundation building. You can do Amboss QBank, yeah, for sure. But I don't consider it USMLE prep right now. I just consider it like you're learning medical school. You're too far out. You're still learning just basic medical school. So just build your foundation up. And then once you finish Amboss, maybe you could do UWorld at that point. We'd have to see how far out you are. You got to get through my PDFs. I would do all my YouTube MCQs. And yeah, we could improvise as far as what we want to do when you get closer. USMLE aspirant, hello, Dr. Mike. I am a non-USIMG. I have low USMLE. Step one, step two scores. I have US clinical experience. Do I have a chance to match this year in internal medicine? Absolutely. All you have to do is pass in order to get FM, IM, PEDS, OBS-GYN, Psych. You just need to pass. Sunny NBME scores have historically been based on historical data, but this year is the first year that people are actually balls to the wall studying for step two. Does this affect? You can just say this is the first year people are assiduously studying for step two. That means like hardcore studying. Does this affect accuracy of the NBME scores? No, because it doesn't matter how well. If other people score well, if everyone aces step two Everyone's just going to get like a 260, 270 on step two. They don't curve differently. The scores don't change. They don't run things on a curve where you're going to be shifted up or down based on like how other people perform. It actually doesn't work like that. The averages have gone up, the pass marks have gone up because people are scoring well now, higher now, because people are doing more questions in the present compared to what they used to do. Right? There's more NBME exams. People can study, the CMS forms. They can do all the NBMEs. There's obviously up to 31 forms now. So yeah, I mean, obviously that's step one, but step two, we have through 14. So people can get higher scores now. It's, yeah, the historical data and how people scoring better, it's not going to change your outcome. Harsesh Singh, GT, thanks for the $2 super chat. Question below, which you haven't written yet. Let's see. Harsesh Singh, how in depth and clear should one's concepts be for physiology and pathophys? Example, cardio, respiratory, and UWorld. Fuck UWorld. I mean, you got to know like NBME material. Okay, obviously I said go through QBank, but like high yield arrows, that's pathophys. I said in yesterday's live stream that you have to like general principles. People ask sometimes like on the NBME score reports, like what general principle is referring to. Like you got to know basically any disease you can think of. Think of any disease, literally, not just AR, AD, XR, like any disease, SLE, sarcoidosis, dermatomyositis, hereditary spherocytosis, just any disease you can possibly think of. You got to know the mechanisms for it. Okay, like you got to know the mechanisms. Von Willebrand disease, ITP. Do you know the mechanisms for them? So it's extremely important as far as just being able to answer NBME questions. You said UWorld specifically. I don't give a fuck about UWorld. Okay, but you're gonna knock out UWorld. But I don't care about you like memorizing the explanations in UWorld. If UWorld emphasizes something, I don't care. It's just get through the QBank 40, 80 per day. And then when you get to the NBME exams, you got to be able to answer those questions. But my high yield arrows PDF has really good physio. And then my other PDFs, my subject PDFs are path. People are like, Mike, where's your path PDF? It's like, relax. If you want path, you say like, okay, I want cardio path. Well, guess what? Go to my high yield cardio PDF. I want renal path. Guess what? Go to my high yield renal PDF. Go to my high yield gastro PDF for GI path. So path is split up in the different PDFs. Okay, so I mean, I'll put out like a 10-page nonsense like general histopath PDF later. But like in the meantime, like if you want path, just do my subject PDFs. They're loaded with path. Let's see. BG Lover, what's up, Mike? Been following for several weeks. Great content. Is that an AP? It is. GT, did you write your question? You did. So you get $2 super chat. GT, thank you. I know you're probably like, what the fuck? I gave him a super chat, but he like forgot about my question. I didn't forget. I'm gonna just address your question right now. Chill. So GT for 270 plus on step two. Shit, we're punching high here. You said that if NVMe 9 to 10 results are not 260 plus to do 1 month of QBank incorrects, why is that better than Anki incorrects from NBME's CMS if they are the real deal? I mean, you could. It's that like when you get to higher end scores, it's more just about like you not making stupid errors and you like getting all the math questions. Like if you want a 270 plus, you have to get 100 on biostats. You got to be good at math. Okay, so that's just I can't really teach that to people. You're either like good at math or you're not. So you got to be able to get all like the biostats questions right. You can't miss dumb fucking like biostats, and you got to just like not make stupid errors on like questions. Like that's what's going to get you over 270. It's not going to come down to like these nitpicky nuances of like OMG, did you make Anki incorrects versus like that versus doing more QBank. That truthfully is about getting people from like 230 to 250s or something. Like if someone's in the 230s and they're like, how do I like optimize to get to 250s or 260? It's like, well, did you do the fucking CMS forms, right? Did you do the NBME exams? But once you're already like 260, like once you're already up there, your knowledge base is really good. Now it's just like, don't get a couple questions wrong on biostats. Don't get like one little weird question wrong where you thought it was B cell, but it's T cell. Like you gotta like, those nuances, that's a hit or miss. But um, I just don't see it as necessary per se to do Anki and corrects of the CMS because you're doing 2 passes of them already. I'm content. If I'm only having students do 1 pass the CMS, we could entertain Anki. I just don't see it as crucial. You can do them. I don't see it as crucial. It's no different from like, you say, well, I recommend people doing NBME 6 through 8, free 120, and then 9 through 14. You say, well, why not NBME 4? Right? NBME 5 doesn't exist, but you say, like, why not NBME 4? Why not NBME 3? Well, you could. Why not the old free 120, Mike? You recommend the new one. Why not the old one? You could. You could. You could do NBMEs 19 and 18 for step 1. You do 17 for step 1. So where do we draw the line? So you can add these things. It's true. But GT, I tend to correct. I have people do 9 and 10. And if the results aren't where they need to be, my propensity is I pull them out and have them do QBank for a month rather than just doing like arbitrary Anki. That's just what I tend to do. It's what I tend to do. Okay. And I mean, it yields good results. Let me scroll back up now. Ashri, 123. Mike, I have 40% of UWorld first pass left, scoring 70%, and maybe 25. Do you think I can? Well, 75 is, or 70%, 25 is really, really good. That's what we want to see. High 60s, 70s, good. Do you think I can give my step 1 45 days? Yes. But you got to make sure that I don't know why you're on the NBME so early. It's not a crisis because, like, I mean, you're going to do UWorld for like another, you said 40%. I don't like that. I don't like that you're not going to be able to finish UWorld. I don't like that. But because you're not like 80%, you're 70. 70 is strong, but it's I don't like. I want you to be able to finish UWorld 40%. You need a month to finish, maybe 3 weeks to maybe a month to finish UWorld is what you need, a month. And then I want a month I want 2 months. I don't want 45 days. I want 60 days. Move your exam 2 weeks for back. So rather than end of August, I just want you sitting mid-September. I want you finishing UWorld, and then I want you going through all the NBME exams. And you say, Mike, I can get the exam done though earlier, Okay, be my guest. Don't take my advice. King of Support. I finished bullshit resource with bullshit strategy. You also finished another bullshit resource. And you're now considering starting. I think it is a good idea to take a break because you're not doing the right resources. You've got to do Amboss or UWorld, okay? And you're going to complete either one of those for step 1 and 2, okay? I mean, I'm assuming you're studying for step 1, but you got to do either of those QBank. They're non-superior to each other in terms of the augmentation score that they'll confer onto you. Guys, give the video a like for coming live stream. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. But you gotta do Amboss or UWorld. You gotta do all the NBME exams. You gotta do my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs. I don't like those resources you've chosen to do. Ezot with crazy last name. Is it okay to do NBMEs for step 1 by 50 Qs or just super ADHD, can't finish once 4 blocks? No, I want you doing all 4 blocks in a row. I don't want you doing bullshit 50 questions and that's it. And is it okay to do NBME step 1 by 50 Qs? No, it's not. You have to do, I want you to do an entire NBME exam, all 200 questions over like 4.5 hours. Okay. It's an hour per block. And then you're going to do, you're going to have your break time. So it should take you about 4.5 hours to get through an NBME exam. Then you start the review. You're not going to review after each block. Paul Cianon, I'm in the middle of pediatrics rotation, already finished all of Amboss Qs, plus incorrects, all PED CMS forms, and through your high yield PDF 2 times. Best next step to continue improving score PS. You're the man, Mike. Okay, so you finished the Amboss Qs, you finished CMS forms. I want you doing the PEDS forms twice, not once. So the PEDS forms twice. You went through, but you said my PDF 2 times. Okay. Um, well, have you done my YouTube playlist for pediatrics? You need to do that. Why didn't you do that? So you got to do the YouTube MCQs, the playlist I have for pediatrics. I want you to go through that. If you're still killing for stuff, you could do your incorrects from Amboss, or you could do the UWorld questions for peds. Abcom, are you COVID vaxxed and boosted? The answer is yes. It's like, I mean, what is this? I mean, the insinuation with that type of question, the tacit, the real question there isn't, are you, you ask, are you COVID vaxxed and boosted? The real question there is, are you like an anti-vaxxer? Are you like politically charged regarding, do what are your politics? That's the real question there. I mean, I got the vaccine 3 times only because I travel international a lot and I had to get the bullshit vaccine passport. Like I needed that to travel in and out of the country. But I didn't like having to get vaccinated. I didn't like the idea of it. I didn't like make a big deal out of it. Like I just got I can side with the notion of like public health standards and you say, okay, I don't like how, it was forced upon people, but I didn't like, I didn't protest it. I think people should not have been required to do it, which is fine. A lot of people didn't get it. People got sick from it. Um, but that's I only got the vaccine because I travel and got the vaccine passport. On them, if my NBME scores dropped from 70%, NBME 20 to 63%, NBME 22 done after 1 week, is this normal? Or should I already answered this question in the live stream? I've said that it's coincidental. Had you happened to sit 21 first and then 20 a week later, your score would have gone from 63 to 70. You'd be like, yay, I'm going up. It's coincidental. Ahmed Bani, 2073. Hey, Doc, Mike, how competitive is anesthesiology for matching? It's competitive, right? Because it's one of the specialties that has cash, right? Boring as fuck specialty, but cash, right? Sit on your little iPad, scroll on your iPad, scroll on your iPhone, sitting just behind the patient, the surgeon. 99.9% of the time, you're just doing jack shit, checking some gadgets, whatever. But you're sitting there, and then 0.1% of the time, you're like definitely needed, okay, but it's mainly just cash, right? So I mean, anesthesiology it's one of those higher paying specialties. It's about, you're paid based on how much responsibility you have, and like, your response, even though it's only 0.1% of the time, you're obviously the linchpin for people's lives, whether it's their airway or like, their heart rate, whatever it's going to be. And but it's cash. It's what it is. It's competitive. I mean, it's competitive. Srikant Chakravarthi. USMLE question is ejection fraction under 50%, absolute for systolic heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. Got an NBME with ejection fraction 45%. The answer is diastolic dysfunction with preserved ejection fraction. Sarcomeres in parallel. No, it's fucking wrong. 45% is not diastolic dysfunction. That would be combined. If any, I mean, 55 to 70 is normal ejection fraction. So if you had 45% ejection fraction, then that's clearly not preserved ejection fraction. So you could have a combined diastolic systolic dysfunction. But I mean, sarcomeres in parallel, yeah, that's going to be concentric hypertrophy. That would be concentric hypertrophy is consistent with diastolic dysfunction oftentimes. But no, that's clearly a reduced ejection fraction. GT, I already answered that question. Thanks again for the super chat. Nokia, not even sure if it's worth it to pursue this anymore and stress over it. If AI is just going to take over medicine, LOL. Kind of scary of what the potential is with AI. Back to UWorld. Well, I mean, I've said that I think AI is going to take over surgery for sure. That I think is like 100% chance. 100%. Like I talked about this the other day in the live stream, how like elevators used to have conductors, that? Like there used to be the early elevators, you used to get in, there used to be some fucking dude standing in there, and he'd have his like lever or whatever, and he'd bring you up and down the floors. Now that's like weird. Okay. And Eventually, it'll be that it's weird if someone's driving a car. It'll be like people used to drive cars. That was like weird. And so eventually, like AI is just going to replace surgeons. It's not going to be acceptable to patients if AI is like just as good or like pretty much similar to human efficacy in terms of just performance in surgery and also human error rate. It has to be where AI robotics are far superior, where there's no confidence interval overlap. Like AI has like 400% less error rate or 400% greater efficacy. AI performs the surgery not only way faster in half the time, but also with 400%, less error rate and 400% greater successes, et cetera. Those statistics will eventually occur. Um, I think, yeah, I'd say by 2080, that seems like a far ways away. Some people think it'll happen faster. AI is going to progress very, very fast. Don't get me wrong, but we're talking. Let's be realistic here. Like back in like the 1980s, they said that we were going to have flying cars by 2020. Of course, we didn't. So like, I think realistically, after 2080, I think it'll be like unusual to have surgery anywhere. At least in a Western country, but we don't know which country. I mean, maybe China will be on top by then. We don't know. But the point is, I think it'll be unusual by 2080. After 2080, I think it'll be unusual after the year 2080 to have like surgery by a human. I think that'll be like, I think 2080. That's a significant ways away. I think that's realistic. Um, but then in terms of like interfaces, just people like think of ChatGPT being able to take a history. Not yet, really, right? Not yet. It's not good enough. But GPT 4, 5, 6. So GPT 7 or something. These iterations that get better and better, where people are like, I don't want to talk to a fucking human, right? Like, or I don't want to talk to a machine. Sometimes if you get on like the phone with a company and there's a fucking AI and you get really pissed off because it clearly doesn't understand anything. Um, but I think eventually there will be like intakes, like histories. Histories will be taken by AI somewhat reluctantly by humans initially, like that. That eventually will happen, and AI will do a better job than humans at taking histories because AI will know which are the important questions to ask. It's pretty much what it is. I mean, that'll happen as well. But surgery is gone. Humans are going to have no role in surgery by, I'd say after the year 2080. Humans are done with surgery. Let's see, Abcom 98. Do you still have connection in the US medical system apart from family? Perhaps your USMLE tutoring helped you develop more connections. What are you trying to ascertain? Mustafa, ever dated a Russian girl? Question mark. Do you think they're less interested in one night stand stuff compared to other nations, or all in my head? I don't think it. I think women are all the same overall. I think obviously you're gonna have superficial cultural differences, but I think biologically, it's the female gender that engages in one night stands 99% of the time, not men. I've said this before, and then you'll get women who are like, no, that's not true. It's fucking true. Okay, so it's because if a man engages in a one night stand, it's because it's not to be there's no judgment, there's nothing like that. I'm just talking general, like, observations, propensities. If a male engages in a one night stand, there tends to be a significant difference in attractiveness level between the male and female, where he's perhaps more attractive. But if in the case of a female, 99% of the time when she's the one who engages in a one night stand, women will ghost dudes who are as attractive as they are. Women will ghost dudes who are more attractive than they are. All the time that happens. That's yeah. And this isn't this. I mean, there's anecdotes through the wall on this stuff. I mean, that I have, I have guy friends who are 20s, attractive, no homo, who struggle to have a girl stick because every girl that they go on a date with, hook up with, just ghosts them after, and they're, as I said, attractive dudes and no homo. But I mean, that's the propensity, is women are the gender that engages in one night stands. F Turget, should I do high yield arrows dedicated or right when I finish the topics? Which Anki decks do you recommend? I think you should be doing high yield arrows prior to your dedicated, if at all possible, because your dedicated needs to be focused on the NBME exams. But you can, if you haven't touched high yield arrows, and you're already in dedicated, yes, you need to ideally go through that PDF. Mimi NKA, hey Mike, how are you? Mike Traval, hey, do you remember me? I do. Arg Deep Sarkar, hi Mike, love your PDFs. I'm new to your channel. How do your question videos differ from your PDFs? They're just completely different. I mean, obviously, all USMLE material is going to have overlap, and then I only talk about high yield stuff. But I mean, the content's just, I mean, they're different, right? So, I mean, PDFs are just very consolidated around, points that are laid out either in chart format or bullet points. But then my questions are catered to one topic, and I'll discuss in more detail things beyond what's just in the PDFs. Dr. Mom, hi. How do I mimic exam day? Should I do NBME 30 and 31 back to back in the same day? Question mark. Thank you so much. And is it enough to do my wrongs only, or should I go through the corrects too? You're going to go through everything when you do. First of all, no, you're not going to do NBMEs back to back for the first time. In other words, when you're doing NBME 30, you've never touched it before, you're going to do that exam over 2 days. Then you're going to do NBME 31 over 2 days. So that's 4 days for those exams. However, I've talked about before how after you do the NBME exams, there can be a time and place for redoing the NBMEs back to back on the same day. Okay, I've talked about that. Like when you finish 20 through 24, and then free, and those are 2 days each for all of those, and then free 120, that's 1 day. Well, after you do all that, you can do 20 and 21 on the same day, 400 questions. 22, 23 on the same day, 400 questions. 24 and free 120 on the same day, 320 questions. But notice that you've already done all those exams prior. You're not doing them for the first time. Never fucking do NBMEs for the first time on the same day. You need to properly review an entire NBME when you finish it so that it can augment your score. You get the full effect of the score augmentation when you sit subsequent NBMEs. That's how I want it to go for people. Mike Travav, can you name a super easy specialty from your experience? Super easy? I mean, what do you mean? In terms of what? In terms of getting in? Like, what are you asking right now? Hello, Dr. Mike. I mean, we already know that FMIM are like easier. It's going to be easier than like dermatology, radiology, plastics, right? Nico, hello, Dr. Mike. How do you do, in quotes, the high yield arrows and the other PDFs? The other viewers are welcome to give tips as well. I normally would answer in my head and check the wrongs. That's such a cuck fucking like way to finish that paragraph. No, that's like massively cuck. You're just going to do the high yield arrows by like literally that PDF is in like Anki format already. Like you have, there's a reason why that PDF has like blank fucking pages. It's because I don't want you to see the answer instantaneously following, right? I don't want your eyes to accidentally see it. So anecdotally, a student I've had, one of the way she went through it that she said was very helpful is that like she would study with a partner and they would be in like a conference room and her partner would read her like the high yield arrows question. And then she would stand up at the whiteboard and like write it out, like in terms of the arrows and stuff. And they like worked through over like, however long it was, a week to 2 weeks, they had worked through that high yield arrows. And she said that she went from feeling like terrible to like, now she felt so good. Holy shit. But she did it properly. And that really helped her out. Nico, I just finished your amino arrow and arrows. Loved both. Thanks. Mitral valve. When do we use the pagliflozins, right? Like dapagliflozin, etc. In heart failure, never seen them used. They're diabetes drugs like dapagliflozin, right? I mean, they're SGLT2 inhibitors, but I haven't. They can cause increased candida infections, but I haven't seen them actually like assessed on USMLE. They're more just like fanciful stuff. Mitral valve, which specialty is easier, neurology or internal medicine? I mean, it depends. Some people might find neuro really easy. Internal medicine is very broad. I'd say internal medicine is easier in terms of just because it's broad, right? So there's different things you can focus on. Neuro is very like, you have to really enjoy neuro. I would be bored shitless with like doing just neuro. That would be extremely boring. I did a lot of neuro when I was on I had a geriatrics rotation when I was in med school, and I did a lot of ward work where I was doing neuro exams like every day on patients, and my neuro became pretty good. Like I became pretty good on my neuro exams, but I just found neuro like very dry. I just didn't like it. But you say what's easier? It's you gain practice with anything. It's going to get easier. Uh, Mitral in 2080 we will be dead. Maybe not. You don't know that. We're gonna live longer, hopefully. Knock on wood, right? But I mean, we'll see what happens. How can IMG apply for elective ship in? I think the notion of dead is going to change. I think when we talk about human life expectancy increasing, that's gonna drastically, it's gonna explode upwards because it's gonna become digital. Like you have to realize, guys, like if someone dies and they have like a footprint, they all have a digital footprint on like their Instagram is still there, their Facebook is still there, like some photos, unless the family has it taken down or something. But it's like we all are going to have a digital footprint that's going to persist after we pass away. And that is actually the starting point for like eventually, we will just be able to upload. We'll just, if we can get that Neuralink, I don't think it'll happen for us necessarily. I don't think it'll happen for us that quickly, but I think our great grandkids probably. I think people born, and this you can't we how can we predict these things because the AI is going to explode upwards as well. The AI human hybrids and how computers are going to merge with humans by 2100. I think where we have that in our head. There's not going to be any external computers by 2100. It'll all be inside our heads, the internet, the cloud. So we'll be able to telepathically communicate, and we'll just be nodes, like leaves on a tree from the AI. It'll be like a hive mind by 2100. The cloud will be the intelligence, and you'll be able to tell the same way you can text a friend across the world, do an IG live across the world, using your external computer, your phone. That'll all be inside of our head. And so we'll be able to telepathically communicate and do video and all this stuff within our own heads across the world. It's all gonna be telepathic by 2100. But I think that by that time as well, we'll be able to, because we'll be all connected that way, we'll be able to upload the same way you upload like your files, your stuff to Google Drive, or like, it's all on Google or Apple Cloud, iCloud. I think we'll just upload our memory, our biologic memory. It'll all just get uploaded to the cloud. And then that will it'll redefine what like human life is, because you will realize that, well, what determines life isn't like your biologic body. It's going to be like, it's actually the memory. It's the persistence of like your data. Life is information. And if you can just preserve that in silicon, if you merge carbon and silicon life, that's when you go to humans are going to live thousands of years. That's what it will be. And then it's the notion of someone dying. If you kill someone, it's not going to be, that someone took out a gun. Killing someone will mean someone was able to infiltrate your seed phrases and have your digitization, your digital footprint removed. That's like what it will be to be killed in like past the year 2100, is somehow they were able to remove your digital footprint. It's not going to have anything to do with like the carbon. It's not going to be carbon based. It's going to be silicon. Life will be silicon by 2100 fully. Let's see. Crazy Arabic name that I can't pronounce. How can IMG apply for elective ship in the US? You just fucking apply. That's what you do. Abcom 98. I was just asked if you're going to have to do your research online, find people, that's what you're going to have to do. You might have to pay. Abcom 98. I was just asking if you were still involved in the medical field in the US. Also, have you seen? No, I have not seen that person. You say surely non-surgical medicine will be taken over by AI before surgery. Yeah, in the sense that AI will integrate. I think as I was already saying, like Chat GPT, like GPT-5, like not just 4, but 5, 6, 7, will be able to take histories. But when I talk about replacing, I think surgeons will be replaced. The robotics will replace human interaction. I think that's going to come for sure. I'm not making an argument as to which has to occur first. I'm just saying that I see it as very like logical that like human surgery will be done. Like AI is going to AI will be able to replace humans for surgical purposes. The same way we'll have self-driving cars. Um, but I still see a place for human interaction in non-surgery. Like humans are going to still want to talk to humans, even if the efficacy is lower. You'll get people who are like, I don't care if this AI can supposedly take a better history on my mom. I don't care. We still want a human. That's what we want. But people will decline that for surgery. They'll say like, no, I'm having fucking heart surgery, and this AI has like 4,000% better outcomes and less blood loss, and the surgery is 40% faster. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have that. That's what's gonna happen eventually. People are like, no, I don't want the human. Get the fuck away from me. Like, yes, I'm gonna have the robot do it. Abcom 98. How much anime did you consume before moving to Japan? None. Do you watch it without sub? I don't watch anime. I said I'm not a wannabe for like anime stuff. Like you get some people who are like wannabes, like in Japan. That's like my observation with other gaijin foreigners. You know, that's how it was at my immersion school. Like you had some people who like tried really hard. They tried so hard to be like, I'm gonna get all the comic books, all the manga. I'm gonna try really hard to like watch as much anime as possible and wear anime clothing and like do like you get people who are like wannabes and they all look the same. They all have like glasses. They all have like their colored hair. They all look the fucking same. They're like they try to be a certain way. I shouldn't be derogatory about it, but like if you live in Japan, it's different. Like if you actually live here like I do, I've been here 7 years and I'm a permanent resident. Like if you live here, you feel these things out and it's like, you know, it shouldn't be derogatory, but you get a culture. It's a culture of foreigners here who like I associate like watching anime. I associate that with like wannabes as opposed to like people who actually like are just like living in Japan. I don't know. That's just my feeling with it. Fuzel, what importance do you think research has for matching to specialties like neuro and cardio? Overrated. I think research is overrated. I said it's just scores and your class rank. It's mostly 2C. I'd say 90% 2CK. And I mean, if you're at a top institution, you need class rank as well. They go together. But I'd say 2CK mostly. Research is overrated. And the reason I say research is overrated is mainly anecdotal. Okay, because I know people who've had obnoxious amounts of research who haven't had outcomes that they're looking for in terms of matching, and it's because of scores. It's like, well, their scores were like good but not great, and they had like absurd research, like 50 articles. Holy shit, 50 articles! Oh my god, scores are good, not great, and then they like don't match. I'm like, I fucking knew it. I'm like, it's like the scores. Like they just look at the fucking scores. They don't give a fuck about research. You know, they it's I think it's also that people who are actually in research, um, like they know that it's mainly about like true impact. It's not just number of publications. That's the other thing. Like you don't need to have like, the 24 papers you got during your bullshit masters that like, your advisor was really easy or your lab allowed you to punch out papers. It's not about the number. It's mainly like the people in research will look at that and say, if you have one paper, just one, where you're like a second author or a third author and the paper's in Cell or in Nature, okay, I mean, very cliche top, uh, top publications, but I mean, or journals, but if you're like a third author on a paper in Cell or a third author on a paper in like Nature, I mean, someone who's at like who actually does research will look at that and be like, shit, this is a big journal right here. And they'll be, I think they'd be more interested. They'd be like, they'd want to talk to you about that. They'd be like, this is like, what role did you play in this? Like, let's talk about that versus your 24 bullshit papers that you got during your master's where you did jack fucking shit, but your advisor was easy. They can spot that stuff. Ahmed Bani, 2073, is clinical experience a must for matching into moderately competitive specialties? It's obviously helpful, but I'd say that stuff's overrated as well. It's like with research. They just look at your numbers, they're going to look at your class rank, and then it's really about like your personal statement that demonstrates humility, and then it's like whom you know. Do you have a letter from someone who they know at their institution? Is it a name that they know? Stephen, but the more competitive the school, obviously the bar is going to be set higher. So if you want to get into Yale, you want to get into like Massachusetts General Hospital, like you're going to have like top scores. You're going to have to check all the boxes. You're going to have top scores, top class rank, research, US clinical experience with a letter, good letters from people who are like in that region, in that specialty. You have to check all the boxes. You have to, because if you don't, someone else will, because those programs are not huge, and like you're going to have to check the boxes. um like getting high scores, like the number one way to set you free and to get into a top program, and this is the if you want to know the number one way to get into a top program, it's to pursue an easier specialty. Like if you're genuinely like, look, I'll be interested in doing like IM. Like, what's wrong with IM? Like, you get like, let's say you get a 274 on step two. Literally, you get a 274, and you're like, I just want to do IM. I just want to do peds. I don't need to do dermatology. I just want to do peds. And you're like, I'm gonna do peds. I'm gonna apply to Yale for peds, and I'm gonna get letters and research peds. And you're set free. Like that's a very freeing thing. If your genuine interest is like something that's not like super is stereotypically super competitive, right? Like that's a very freeing thing. If you get like 260s and you're like, why do I want family medicine? That's what I prefer. And it's like, cool, you can literally go anywhere you want, right? So, if you're going by specialty, you can't be entitled. If you want to do like dermatology, radiology, like you got to be open to going to fucking like, Montana, Mississippi. There's nothing wrong with these places. Be fun, be great. You got to be open to going like different places, not just fucking like Northeast US or something. Stephen, hello, Dr. Mike. What do you think about Ankiing? Overall, step one is a resource. Step one is a resource. Overrated. I don't think you need to do Anki during QBank. I've said Anki plays a role for NBME screenshots of your incorrects. I've said that a lot. Guys, you're coming to live stream, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Obviously, I have Biochem Pharma Anki on my website. That's different. But for people who ask about should they make Anki cards from QBank, the answer is no. You're going to make Anki cards of the screenshot incorrects from the NBME exam. So I talked about how you're going to do that. Mitral valve, very interesting. The surgery specialty will become the easiest specialty when the AI starts making surgeries. Things are just going to evolve. I mean, things are going to evolve. Humans will have other roles. Kanishka Awasti. Mike, you didn't tell me the answer for the multiverse thing. What's your question? What's your question? I don't know what your question is. Mitral valve. What's the difference between systolic, diastolic heart failure in terms of treatment? The same. I mean, you're going to give ACE inhibitor and ARB first. That's classic. ACE inhibitor, ARB first. USMLE really likes lisinopril. It's going to improve ejection fraction. That's it, right? Because if you knock out the effect of AT2 on systemic arterials, then you have decreased afterload, and that can improve ejection fraction for systolic dysfunction, right? The heart can pump easier now against less resistance. You say for diastolic dysfunction, but is it the same? The way it goes is there's a very set known algorithm. I shouldn't say algorithm. There's a very set known like sequence of drugs that are used for systolic dysfunction, or they call it heart failure with a reduced ejection fraction. And then diastolic is like, the way it's approached is like, well, basically the same, but like maybe some modifications we're going to observe to see how the patient responds. It's basically the same. I haven't seen the USMLE like distinguish, but they want ACE inhibitor ARB first to improve ejection fraction. Beta blocker comes next. Okay, so bisoprolol, nebivolol, okay, carvedilol, metoprolol, extended release. But USMLE is not going to assess you on those four, but those are the four that improve mortality and heart failure. Like propranolol, for instance, like isn't used in heart failure. That's actually, maybe that could be how it's applied. Like if you get a heart failure question, you see propranolol there, like it's basically wrong. Like a student might choose it over like lisinopril, and they're like, well, you can't give a beta blocker first. It's like, well, number one, ACE inhibitor ARB first, not beta blocker. Number two, propranolol is not typically used. It would be like, metoprolol extended release, bisoprolol, carvedilol, and nebivolol. Those are the four. But then also loop diuretics can be used pretty much at any point. They typically are used either before the ACE inhibitor ARB or prior to the beta blocker, but they don't decrease mortality. They're just used to fluid unload the patient in terms of, if they have peripheral edema. They give you in the USMLE question that they're lying on, the patient can't lie down on the gurney, can't breathe, okay, has crackles 2/3 the way up the lung field, its oxygen sat's 88%. They want furosemide prior to the ACE inhibitor ARB. You got to use your fucking head. If the vignette is emphasizing the dyspnea, if the whole, if it's a 12-line rambling massive paragraph and 10 of the lines are emphasizing dyspnea, then they want furosemide over the ACE inhibitor ARB. But if 10 out of the 12 lines, if they say patient has shortness of breath or whatever, but then the rest of it is just general heart failure, then you're going to give the ACE inhibitor ARB. But then after the propranolol, we tend to go to spironolactone, which improves mortality. There's one question where the new NDME is, I think it might be NDME 13 for TCK, where they give a diabetic and spironolactone's wrong. The answer is go to hydrochlorothiazide, which is really fucking whack, because thiazides can technically worsen diabetes. They can cause insulin resistance, but there's a newer question where spironolactone's wrong on a diabetic. They go to hydrochlorothiazide. Apparently you don't want, adding spironolactone, ACE inhibitor, and diabetic can have adverse effects on some renal function. But in patients who are not diabetic, after the beta blocker, we go to spironolactone. Okay. And then after that, you can add hydralazine nitrates, the combination, not one or the other, hydralazine nitrates. So what they'll do is they might tell you patients on, hydralazine, they'll give you 9 drugs the patient's on. You notice hydralazine is one of them. And they'll say, how can this patient's pharmacologic regimen be altered to improve mortality? And the answer will be choice B, add isosorbide dinitrate. And you're like, well, that's a weird answer. It's well, not really, because they're on hydralazine. That's fucking weird for them to be on how often do you see a patient on hydralazine? Not really. So you'll see that and you're like, well, they're on hydralazine. So you got to add the nitrate, because the combo of hydralazine nitrates decreases mortality. Right. And then you can add digoxin, which doesn't decrease mortality. Same as furosemide, digoxin, furosemide do not decrease mortality. And then ultimately implantable devices. Let's see. Hello, tomorrow. Do you recommend taking a break after every block in step 1? Not the first 2 blocks. So I recommend, if possible, doing the first 2 blocks back to back with no break. Take 60 seconds sitting at your desk without leaving the testing room. That's what I recommend. And then, so if you have no crisis during the first block, if your caffeine level is okay, you've gone through the first block, no overt crises, then as I just said, take 60 seconds, just say, okay, I'm feeling okay. And you're just going to go right into the second block. And next thing you know, you've knocked out 2 blocks, quarter the exam, and you have all your break time remaining. Okay. And then it's going to be 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes all the way through. Do not take an extended lunch break. Do not load calories in any one break. You're just going to have a few sips of water, maybe half a protein bar every break, half a PBJ sandwich, and half a diet Red Bull or something. So you're going to just, space that out as you need as you move through the exam. Kevin C, specialties most in danger by AI and encroachment, in your opinion, in the next 2-3 decades? I already talked about this multiple times in this live stream. Kevin C. Abcom 98. Are you a materialist based on your views of life becoming silicon-based transhuman? No, I wouldn't say that. I don't know. How does that relate? How does silicon and views on AI relate to being materialist? I don't understand that connection there. You can enlighten me. Unreal Entity. Third, second author plus 274 equals match. Jaehoon Jung. Test in 2 days. Any tips on what I should do these next 2 days? Did about 60% of arrows and did biochem, neuroanatomy, PDS. If your exam is literally in 2 days, today should be pretty much biostats, just overview. Make sure you know your formulae. And it doesn't really matter what you do, truthfully. At this point, nothing really fucking matters. I'd say just know your formulae for biostats. Just do that. And also, you could glance at high-yield arrows, random notes. But tomorrow, the day before, I want to be a pretty chill day. Moogle 900, good to see you back. Moogle, good to see you back. Unreal Entity, how competitive is general surgery? Not hyper competitive at like most institutions, but it's like a slight step higher than like IM, FM, PEDS, OBSGYN, um, psych. It's like a slight increase, but it's not like overkill. But surgery at any like top institution obviously is hard. Mitral valve, a true and a real doctor is a good. I don't know what that's asking. Does year of graduation matter? You have 5+ years since graduation. It does matter. I mean, the further out from med school you are, the obviously your chance of match decreases. But I'd say if you've been out of med school for at least 3 years, you got to have a step 3 when you're applying. Kevin C. Screenshot CMS and Anki Word doc worth it or just NDMEs for 2CK? No, I've said just you don't have to do the Anki review for CMS and NBMEs for 2CK. I have that for step 1 students only. Someone asked us about this earlier in the live stream where they said, why don't you recommend that? Why don't you? And my response is, you can if you want. You can. I just think that you don't have to. It's like when students say, why not do NBME 19 or 18 for step 1? Why start at 20? You can do 19 or 18. You can do the old 3120. You can do NBMEs 4, NBMEs 3 for step 2. You can. I just don't think you have to. Unreal Entity, what about you already asked about this. What is your obsession with this medication? I already answered it. Like, those drugs are SGLT2 inhibitors for diabetes, but I haven't seen them assessed. They can cause increased candidal infections. Nimian Tehran, do you recommend mode time or timed mode or tutor? I've already said untimed tutor random is ideal for QBank. Ahmed 2073. Are the derivatives for pharyngeal arches and pouches high yield for memorization? Pharyngeal arches, not really. No, not arches. Pouches, you got to know 3 and 4. That's it. That's it. Just to George and just in general, 3 and 4. The third pouch is inferior parathyroids, thymus. Fourth pouch, superior parathyroids. Like, not traumatic. You got to know that. But I mean, apart from that embryo, you got to know neural crest is an answer for like a lot of things. If you don't know the answer, just choose neural crest. Neural crest for any like, heart defect, heart lung fistulae, fetal alcohol syndrome, obviously DeGeorge as well. Hirschsprung, okay, neural failure, neural crest migration. Any of the NF1, okay, failure, neural crest migration. But you gotta know like tracheoesophageal fistula. That's obviously for the esophagus. That's endoderm is the answer. For thyroglossal duct cyst, right? So you have a midline painless neck lump that can move superiorly when patient protrudes his or her tongue or swallows. That's going to be endodermiform cecum, and then you've got craniopharyngioma, which is going to be Rathke pouch, which is the roof of the primitive pharynx. Like that. That's like literally like 90+% of all the embryo you need to know for step 1. Like, people have been like, can you make a high yield embryo PDF? And it's like, well, high yield embryo could be on like a page. Like, there's no PDF. I talked about it in high yield repro OBGYN PDF. I've got a step 1 heavy section, like the last 30 pages, all step 1. I put the embryo in there. In the case of STEMI, do we give heparin, morphine before stenting? What they want for MI is aspirin first on USMLE. That's what they want. They just want aspirin first. And then they want ADP 2I12 blockers, so clopidogrel after. That's what they want. I've never seen them assess like beyond that, really. That's what's interesting about MI for USMLE is like they really don't assess it specifically. Like, you'd think like, shouldn't we know how to manage MI like hardcore? They really don't like assess it. They're pretty much just like, give aspirin, give clopidogrel. Even that's like low yield. But you should know that. You should know like dual antiplatelet therapy for MI. But the notion of like, like morphine, oxygen, nitrates, heparin, beta blocker, statin, all this stuff. Like, I haven't seen them like assess it in relation to MI or PCI, percutaneous coronary intervention within 90 minutes or anything. Like, I haven't seen them like care. There's one question on a new 2CK form where it might be on maybe 12. I don't remember exactly which form it is, but they just want you to know in an acute coronary event, patients need cardiac catheterization. It's an answer on one of the forms. Like the answer is literally just cardiac catheterization. And then the explanation is like patients who have acute coronary syndrome, which is unstable, they define it as unstable angina or MI, non-STEMI or STEMI. They just say require cardiac catheterization. It's like, okay, that's like what they ask. But I haven't seen them like ever do or ever ask anything about like PCI. I've never seen them do that. There's a question where morphine is an answer for just like hypertension. Morphine, you need to know that patients who are in pain post surgery, they can get hypertension. So morphine, it's an answer on one of the forms for helping to control hypertension. Abcom 98, if you say that life is just the memory and information and that it can become silicon based in the future and stored in the cloud, that is physicalist slash materialist. Okay, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. When you say materialist, my interpretation of that is like, are you asking if I'm like into like expensive things? Limo, do you practice as an internist? No. I do USMLE stuff. Mitral valve. A true and real doctor is a good internal medicine doctor. It's a saying in the Hebrew language. AR, I'm so fucking slow in content reading and memorization. Sometimes I feel I have some cognitive problem. Please suggest me any tips to move on swiftly. I'm stuck on the same page for hours. You got to have some accountability and just move forward. That's what it is. So, some people are going to be slow in terms of their study. You really just have to have some accountability at the end of the day. It's a pacing thing. You got to learn the process of study. No one's going to be hovering over your shoulder, like forcing you to do certain things. So you got to just push through. Hassan, love you. AR, I'm preparing for steps since 2 years now. Feel bad. Least stuck on SRIs now. Just want to get it done with. Mohammed Jama. Hey, Mike, I have 7 weeks to finish UWorld for step 1, 28 days for MBME. My base is shit, man. Do you think is enough to give the exam? Please give me some advice. 7 weeks to finish UWorld and 28 days for NBME, but my base is shit. I've just said that you got to push through UWorld. You got to finish the whole thing. I don't care about your numbers while you're in UWorld. Just you got to finish it. And then we'll see how you go on the NBMEs. 28 days for NBMEs is what I've recommended. Yes. Like I want you spending a month on the NBMEs at the end. We'll see how you go on 20 and 21. If you absolutely like tank 20 and 21, Mohammed, like you get like 189 or lower with your 3-digit conversions. I said that you're going to go to Reddit, Google Images, NBME 20 score conversion Reddit. You're going to type in your number of wrongs. You're going to go into that equation with the best fit line. You're going to get a graph. You're going to type in your number of wrongs, get your 3-digit score. If it's a 189 or lower on 20 or 21, you're going to go back to QBank for another month doing corrects, where you're going to do AMBOSS. But I mean, if you do well in the NBMEs, then, we can just push you through, even if you feel like your base is shit. People will feel like they don't know anything, but then they'll do fine in the NBMEs. Naki, I think you have said this before, boss, but I wanted to hear it again. UWorld questions tend to be harder than NBME ? That is correct. I think QBank overall tends to be more gotcha, nitpicky, multiple twists and turns. That's how it is. There are, of course, left field questions on NBME Free 120. Yes, there are. When we talk about general proclivities, QBank, AMBOSS, and UWorld will have way more gotcha questions overall, way more overall. So I think, or UWorld or AMBOSS will focus on minute details that are just like irrelevant. Okay, they might be off the mark. And so I think NBME questions are easier overall, yes. Hello, Tamara. Do we need to learn histology for step 1? A little bit, not a lot, but I have high yield histo in my PDFs. So you want to know histo for like renal? Okay, go to my renal PDF. You want to know histo for GI? Go to my GI PDF, right? Like go to the PDFs. Pulmonary, go to the pulmonary PDF. So histo's in my PDFs. Leia Meme Belly. Where do you get all this energy from? Double question mark. Answer the same questions over and over included. You're right. I answer the same dumb questions, but there's no entitlement. Mitral valve, I also love the internal medicine, but everyone disappoints me and tells me it's super hard in the terms of work. I'm starting my foundation year in September. Nokia, EXO, thank you. Ayad Ali, hey Mike, what is the best way to learn reassortment, recombination, phenotype mixing, etc.? Yeah, it's annoying. I'm trying to think of where I talk about this stuff. I mean, I talked about this stuff in like videos before. That reassortment is like antigenic shift. So we talk about like influenza. Reassortment refers to antigenic shift, right? Pandemics, it's where you have a reassortment of viral segments, hemagglutinin and neuraminidase, a novel virus. Pandemic, so once in a generation. Or just if a fucking lab in China does the reassortments artificially, right? For COVID. But reassortment is antigenic shift for influenza, whereas antigenic drift is just point mutations, and hemagglutinin and neuraminidase causes epidemics. So that's just like every few years. Recombination, so you get novel viruses with reassortment, where the immune system, most members of a species have their immune systems have not been exposed to that, and that's why they can induce pandemics, global pandemics. Okay, they're highly novel viruses, reassortment segments between different viruses. But recombination is where you have classically two viruses enter a cell, two different phage particles enter a cell at the same time, and then they produce an offspring virus with a nucleocapsid with a hybrid combination of proteins. That's recombination. That's slightly different. Um, I mean, like you ask about their yieldness, like it's not dramatic. You know, we don't have a numerical step one anymore. ABCOM 98 is a dental student prepping for. You're like, don't get mad. Well, I'm not mad. I don't like cut questions. Thank you so much for your usual help. Can you make it during doctor practice? Can American doctor practice in Japan? I would say not really. You have to be deeply, 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 deeply fluent in Japanese and understand the culture here. And I would think, yeah, and you'd have to pass the boards here. Like you'd have to be a native pretty much. I think the only people, unless you're like absurdly brilliant, you have to pretty much be like a half Japanese, half American native. You have to be native level in Japanese to practice here. You said you think Real Joyce, you think reassortment, recombination, and biochem PDF. Maybe they are. How do you cope with the language in Japan? Do you have to learn Japanese? I mean, I've been living here 7 years, so I mean, I know like basic conversational Japanese, but like that's a long discussion. I mean, like I'm not a fucking banker. I got to a certain threshold level, and then I was like, this is decent for just like daily conversations, survival level stuff, and I can have like cafe conversations, street conversations. Let's see. When is the best time to do the new free 120? I did free 120 after 23 24. Exactly. So that's correct. I've said do that. You said old free one. Oh, you're asking new free 120 comparison to old free 120. I only recommend people do one of the free 120s. I don't really care. The fact that you did the old free 120, if you want to do the new free 120, you could do that prior to 23 24. Now you say you did it after 23 24. Yeah, you can do it prior to 25. Okay, because classically, guys, what I recommend is doing 23 24, just one of the free 120s. You don't have to do old and new. You can just do one of the free 120s, and then you can do 25 31. And then for step 2, you're obviously going to finish QBank. You're going to do first pass of all the CMS forms, and you need 6 through 8, double pass of all the CMS forms, the free 120, 9 through 14. That's the end of the questions, guys. So I'm going to head to the gym, and obviously I'll do more of these live streams.